Welcome to Crypto Market News. I'm reporting from Money 2020 in Singapore, Decentro, here with Bradley, the head of business development from Dash, and Alexander, the head of strategy. Thanks for joining me today for the interview, guys.
Absolutely, thank you.
Right on. How's Singapore treating you guys?
It's very well. This is my first Money 2020. It's been an amazing experience. I think the quality of kind of the attendees and this just overall environment's been really good.
Yeah, Alex, Singapore?
Same.
Same? Love it?
Love it.
I just can't get enough of Singapore.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into the interview here. Dash is smashing all expectations.
Thank you.
I actually covered Dash in 2016 and unfortunately didn't get on board, which is a huge regret of mine, but it's never too late, of course. So Dash is truly a DAO. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, sweet. Can you briefly explain the management structure of this organization?
Would you like me to cover that? Or? So our organization, I guess it's a couple of different layers. The first is the normal mining layer that I think most people are familiar with with cryptocurrencies. On top of that, we have something called the masternode layer. That masternode layer, they are the shareholders of the network. They have to prove ownership of 1,000 Dash to be a masternode, but then they also have to provide services for the network as well, and that's our instant send feature and our private send feature. Those masternodes also have voting rights, and so what happens is overall they are providing that governance structure with the monthly treasury and the monthly budget process that we have. So they're probably, I guess you could say, that key level of management with respect to how is Dash going to move forward, how are we funding certain projects, and one of the key vendors, of course, of the network is the Dash Core Group, which is with whom Alex and myself are employed by. And then from there, of course, we operate a lot of that kind of day-to-day and operate kind of as that business arm, again, to help propagate the growth of the network, build new partnerships as well, and things of that nature.
Okay.
Let me add to that.
Sure, yeah, please.
So the difference with Dash and another blockchain is our block reward is split 45, and 10.
Okay.
45% goes to the miner,
Okay.
45% goes to the masternodes, and 10% goes to this treasury.
Right.
That cost is what pays our run rate.
Okay.
And then minus our run rate, the cool thing that Dash does is gives the remainder back to the network. And every month, anybody can submit a proposal to the Dash network saying, I have an interesting idea that I'd like to do. There's a cool proposal right now for Venezuela to bring in 2,000 merchants. And so every month, the masternodes vote on the proposals.
How'd the vote go for Venezuela?
It hasn't, it's live right now. It's currently live right now.
And how quick is the resolution for these types of voting situations?
Well, I mean, it just depends on when somebody launches the proposal, but they're at the end of the month. Every month there's a super block. And so at the end of the month, once the votes are done, I forget the exact algorithm. It's something like minus the negative votes.
It's around net votes, so it's the yes votes minus your no votes is what your net vote count is. And so that's the figure that matters the most.
Okay.
And so as those votes come in, once they do, it approves and locks in the funds for those proposals, and then it automatically gets distributed. And so to me, that really is how we are a DAO. The other thing is those masternodes are voting on upgrades to the protocol.
Right.
And so we upgraded to 2 megabyte blocks, right? And we did that in 24 hours.
24 hours?
24 hours.
That's fast.
Pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yep.
For a DAO, that's fast decision making. I like that. So just to recap, you've got the decentralized structure through your masternodes, which I think you said there's about 4,000?
About 4,800.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have the sort of management structure in place as well.
Correct. So, and I guess the other thing to add on with that, so we're kind of that management structure as part of Dash Core, but as I mentioned, we're a vendor of the network. If we're not delivering that value, we could be defunded by the network, and again, a replacement team could be brought in. So again, going back to that decentralization, it really is the network kind of making those decisions.
Actually, I would add it's legally the network that owns us.
Okay.
So we have a New Zealand trust that's set up, and the shareholders, the actual
in
legal...
New Zealand?
Well, New Zealand, yes. It's administered in Switzerland, but it's a New Zealand trust.
Okay.
the masternodes are the shareholders. They legally own the network.
Interesting. That's cool. And you guys get paid in Dash?
Yes.
Yeah? How do you feel about that?
Love it, actually.
I bet you do.
Love it.
The cool thing about him in Australia, he can pay all his bills in Dash.
That's the advantage with myself. So Australia, very quickly, they had a legacy payment system called BPay that the banks were linked up with. What that means ultimately is there's a partner of ours, Living Room of Satoshi, that literally any single bill that I have in Australia, whether that's my rent, whether that's my credit card, mobile phone, literally everything, because it comes through this BPay system, that legacy, through Living Room of Satoshi, I can pay all those bills with Dash directly.
That is awesome.
Never have to convert to fiat.
That is really cool. So do you consider Dash to be one of the most decentralized cryptocurrency projects out there? And why is there value in being decentralized as you are? So 2 questions there.
I don't really like to compare us to others.
Okay.
I think but it is the only DAO that I know. I think that really operates that way.
Yeah, okay.
I think the beauty of that is that the people that participate get to decide the future, right? Ultimately, I think the value is that the people that participate in the network own the network.
Yep.
And so it's like Uber, except the drivers are the owners of the company.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
It is literally that.
Yep.
And so all of the value goes back to the people that participate in it. And there's no centralized risk of control of personal information and those kinds of things.
Yep, okay, cool. I like the decentralized Uber idea where the drivers are in control. Somebody's going to make it happen, I think, after watching this. Anyways, so speaking of value, I find that legacy finance experts really struggle with understanding the value of cryptocurrencies, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
It seems that way.
Yeah, it definitely seems
Whether
that way.
it's actual misunderstanding or feigned misunderstanding.
Oh, right, okay. So one thing I find they really overlook is the fact that there's value in that cryptocurrency gives us a choice outside of the fiat system. And what the actual monetary value of that function is obviously depends on person to person. So for me, I personally and morally don't like fiat very much at all. So that's the main reason I jumped on board with crypto, because it was finally another option. So what do you think about that aspect of added value simply because it's a choice outside of the fiat system?
I think it's great to have a choice outside the national fiat system. And I think where perhaps sometimes the confusion, as you mentioned, with say the legacy finance space comes from, is it's viewed very often with a different lens from the way the rest of the world operates. And I guess what I mean by that is if we view it from a lens in the United States or Australia or, again, a Western country that's got security, safety, etc., you don't really question your national fiat. As a general rule, the population, they're going about their business. But if you're in a country like, say, Venezuela, and your paycheck is literally losing its value between the point of being paid and you depositing it in your bank account, and then further, there's restrictions on how you can access then the funds you've just put in that bank account, and so on and so forth. Now all of a sudden you have a very different lens as far as the value that options outside that fiat system provide. These people beforehand didn't have those options, and they were suffering for that. And so cryptocurrency, by providing that different option, the volatility doesn't matter to them the way, say, again, a lot of legacy finance people may say, well, no one will pay for it because who wants to be the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza guy again? Well, the reality is if you're in that type of a country and your paycheck's losing value, crypto is a great solution. Yes, it might be a little bit volatile, but it's not going down the way your national fiat is. And in fact, it might even go up. And it's, again, has a volatility ride, but nowhere near the national fiat.
Yeah. So historically speaking, every fiat currency ever created has gone to value 0. How is that impossible in cryptocurrency? Potentially impossible. Is it?
That's a tough one.
It is a tough question.
That's a tough one. I mean, because you could say the cost of crypto should be the cost of maintaining the network.
Okay.
We don't comment on price that much, and so, yeah.
I guess, for me, the value stems from the use. So if the network's existing, it's being used, that network's growing. Metcalfe's law, as far as the value of the value of a network. One fax machine's not worth anything. 1 billion of them around the world suddenly has a value. Same thing with crypto. So I guess in my view, I don't know the straight answer to that question, but as long as that network is being maintained and it's being used and it's being grown, I think the likelihood of it going to zero is probably low.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I guess no one knows the future, but that would be my view.
Well, historically speaking, fiat currencies end up grinding themselves into the grave by printing too much money.
But is that the currency or is that the government?
Well, it's the government using that
Yeah.
system. So, yeah, I mean, a dollar bill sitting on the floor on its own will accomplish nothing, right? Cool. So, this might be a tough question. But I think this whole community really needs to think about this. So, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, potentially the technology can be used to have a economic control grid top down, where a government knows 100% of all the transactions you make and could potentially use that knowledge in nefarious ways. How does the Dash system try to counter this potential bad side of blockchain technology?
I don't know that I would say we are trying to counter that. We have optional privacy features that people can use, called private send, which is coin mixing, which will sort of obfuscate your balances and the flows of the transactions.
Which is true. So that optional element, of course, assists with that. And I guess I'd also look at it in some ways. Is it really it's a concern, I think, that's very valid. Is it specifically with cryptocurrency? I almost wonder now, with the way a lot of governments are just moving society away from actual physical cash, putting it, even if it's on a credit card, again, those records are actually still being maintained. Now they're even centralized as well, can be subpoenaed, so on and so forth. So I think while the risk is there, I don't know if it's an honest question. Is the risk that much different than what we're seeing already today? Maybe it's a little bit easier, perhaps, because again, it's public blockchain, not say a private centralization.
That's a really good point you're making, and I can see now, at least with blockchain tech, with Dash, you have the choice to make a transaction private. Whereas if you swipe your debit card, there's never an option to make that a private transaction. So I'm sort of seeing the light here in that blockchain actually gives us the option to digitally be private.
And control your own data.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's putting the choice back with the user.
That's cool. That's cool. So can you just describe that privacy feature? Is it just a one-click kind of thing before you make a payment?
Yes.
Right.
Just yes or no, do you want to send this as private send?
And do you have to pay a higher fee?
You do have to pay a fee. I don't remember the exact fee for private send, but for instant send, it's like 5 cents. And so for private send, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact amount either, but it would be comparable. So in that, our overall, I guess, theme is around very much low transaction fees.
Yep.
So it would be comparable.
And is it popular, the private send?
It's actually about 1% of our transactions.
That's it?
It's surprising.
Right, that is a bit surprising.
Yep.
Right, interesting. Okay, I'm glad I asked that question. I think a lot of value came out of that conversation, because it's a bit of a tough topic to breach, especially with this scene, us who really love the technology. I think it's important, though, to consider all sides of it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was well handled, boys. Thank you. Let's talk again about the traceability of cryptos. Okay. Do you think there's a chance we can tag tax dollars and track and trace how tax dollars are being used and exactly where they end up? And would that be a useful tool to have for society to take a look at what a local government, for example, might be doing with their tax dollars?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Open government.
Open government.
Public transparency.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the beauty of blockchain.
Yeah. So you think it's possible?
It's absolutely possible. Well, I guess at the end of the day, it's based on humans.
Yeah.
And whether the humans choose to do that.
Right.
Are humans capable of making that choice? I'm not so sure.
Right.
Are human governments capable of making that choice? But technologically, it's very much possible.
Yeah. So let's say we've got Dashville in 10 years. Is that something a Dash community would be interested in doing? Having 100% tax accountability in a city.
Oh, I think it'd be cool to set up an initiative to track taxes that way. Whether Dash would be the person, the group that's monitoring that. But absolutely, yeah. I think bringing accountability to how funds are being used for the common good.
Yeah.
That's definitely the direction that I hope blockchain takes us.
Yeah, cool. I also very much hope it ends up in that direction. Excellent. Just carrying on with that topic, and let's try and think out of the crypto mental bubble that we're in, and we'll try and think about regular society. Do you think regular people would actually check things out, what's happening with their tax dollars, how they're being used, if that system existed?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, change.org, right? That's what is change.org? It's a website that someone set up. I don't know who set it up. A petition platform,
okay.
Right? You're seeing the proliferation of these kinds of things right now, right? And that's on. And then the White House has something where they show that. And so, I mean, you're seeing increasing calls for accountability, and you're seeing increasing initiatives that are bringing accountability into the public governance space.
But I think, again, it goes back to kind of what you were saying as well earlier, Alex, which is it still goes down to the humans. You know, and I think sometimes how involved do the humans want to be in making that accountable? I think, that execution element, even if all that data was there, that's what's going to be the most important part. And so I think sometimes maybe I have a slightly pessimistic view if you look at somehow how our voter turnouts in the United States aren't always that great, particularly on that local government level, say, versus federal. I would love to see that more, and I think the power of that transparency only comes from then the power of the people then using that information to then hold people accountable.
Yep.
I mean, I also think there'll be greater demand for it. I mean, anything that you're doing where you're trying to create a good for society, like let's say an NGO, why wouldn't you want to put that on a blockchain to demonstrate confidence in the spread between your operating costs and the actual dollars that are going to impact the people you're trying to help, right? Yeah. And so why wouldn't a government, well, I shouldn't say why wouldn't a government want to do that, but I think the call for governments to do that will become greater.
Cool. All right. In this day and age, it really seems like society has fractured quite extensively. It looks like we're not able to get along, yet we have all these decentralized projects, all these groups of people who are not geolocated together necessarily. They're spread apart far around the world. But the point is, this new technology has shown us that decentralized communities work very, very well together. What is it about these communities that allow us to operate together at such high levels?
Good question.
I know. Where do you start with that?
So I guess in my view, if I look at technology, maybe more abstractly, seems to have a way of bringing people together. You can look at, say, even the early days of the internet, or even pre-internet. I remember the old bulletin boards, and people setting up, random communities that you dial in directly to their number, and that technology started bringing people together. And again, I think different elements, not all technology, but different elements of technology does have that unifying piece to very disparate groups where they're more focused on finding the commonality in each other rather than the differences. And I think that's where crypto has been able to leverage a little bit. And again, this is just my view, but I wonder if part of that has also been the access that the community can have to actually participate, to be involved, to take ownership, to help drive, and to basically make a difference. And if I look at, say, maybe more generically, a lot of other, say, just businesses in general, how can how can you do that? You know, you don't have a community of XYZ corporation people going around and trying to obviously build business for that company. But yet I think, again, because of that access that exists within the crypto industry, I think that's what helps facilitate some of that commonality.
Okay, cool.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
I think companies are people built around some centralized use of technology.
Yep.
Decentralized projects are groups of people that share the same values.
Yep.
And the technology is just a part of it. I think that's what allows these different groups to work together, is that crypto is such an ideal and values-based community. It's not like you see different AI communities or different biomedical communities working together.
No,
Maybe academia might be somewhere where you see that kind of shared interest. But at the end of the day, in crypto, everybody is focused on how do we help people retain the value that they deserve and they create, and that some intermediary is not fleecing off the top of them. And I think that's why you see collaboration between these communities. It's minus all the ICO hype and all of that. It's very cooperative. It's very friendly, and it's really amazing to see.
That's cool. So I guess what you're saying is technology's the glue of these communities, and it's the functionality of the tech that gives it value, that keeps these communities together as far as their interest goes.
Yeah, I'd say it's absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm really quite inspired by decentralized projects, and for me, it's possibly telling us that maybe one day, at the city level, we can actually govern ourselves. What do you think?
I think it'd be pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, it's the future with crypto seems to be so unwritten, which is kind of what's exciting about it at the same time.
Exciting.
I mean, it's almost like maybe anything's possible, but like something along those lines. I mean, I think that would be great, you know, and actually putting that back to the people.
I think it's possible. Look at Dash.
Yeah.
Dash is self-governed and self-funded and self-regulated in that way. And so if it's possible at that small scale, it's possible in larger scales. Absolutely.
Well, Dash is one reason why I even thought of this question. You know, it's proof it can work.
Yep.
And I just want to hear other people's opinion, because I think with, as you know, I told you before, I come from education. I used to be a math teacher. So I think with proper education, it could actually work. Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. Okay, let's see. I've got some questions here from the Reddit community, and here they are. Will there be any roadmap updates on evolution progress, and what progress has been made on evolution itself?
We are working on updating the roadmap right now.
Okay.
We're also working on providing some material to release.
So time frame, release date, maybe next month?
Well, time frame for evolution is Q3. That's what is Q3 of this year.
Oh no, sorry, the time frame for
the release of the
roadmap.
I can't give a time frame for the update of the roadmap.
It's coming.
Soonish.
Cool.
We hope within a month to release a video. That's sort of like a demo of prototypes that we're doing.
Okay,
also, plan to release some answers to community questions from Reddit, Discord, and our Dash forum. We also just filed the patent.
Okay.
And so the details of the patent will be public, and we're going to do a press release on it. The patent's just a defensive patent to protect people from profiting on it or blocking others from using it.
Yeah.
We don't make profit off of it. And so all of those are going to be coming out within the next month or two in public releases. I don't mean the product, but I just mean the information.
The information, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then what sort of progress has been made on evolution itself, not the roadmap, but the technology? Maybe that's a question for Sam.
It's a tough question. I think the thing that's interesting with evolution is, one, it's really hard to build decentralized applications. In order to build it, not only do we have to upgrade our protocol, we had to evolve our business, right? And so if you're allowed to create applications on the blockchain, you got to store that data somewhere because you can't store it on the blockchain. So we had to create new teams that do new things that we weren't doing before.
Okay.
That was hard for us. It's taken us longer than we thought it might.
So the community asking these questions from Reddit
are valid.
They're valid, of course, but I find the whole community, not the whole, an element of crypto communities are extremely impatient. And
Everyone wants their toy.
Yeah.
Everyone wants their product, and it's a cool. I mean, and they're passionate. They're they're the owners. At the end of the day,
That's
a
fair.
better way to say it is, if you're the owner and you're the shareholder, why wouldn't you be impatient and want to know that?
I like that. I like how you're really thinking about the community. I like that. Because I'm trying to convey to the community that on the flip side of their expectations, there's the reality, and that's the development. That's like setting it up so it works properly and doesn't screw up. So but I like how you focus right away on the community.
And I think where we also have an opportunity as well is to help with that communication, like what Alex was saying, some of those increases that's coming up, and then also to help manage some of those expectations. I think maybe in the early days there was an underestimation of exactly maybe how complex this was, and so perhaps some dates were communicated that kind of, obviously in hindsight, were perhaps too aggressive. So I think part of that as well is increasing that communication back to the community will also be obviously a massive assistance.
Awesome. And last question, are there any integrations or partnerships in the pipeline? For example, someone like Coinbase?
We've got some really cool partnerships in the pipeline.
Okay.
Forgive me for not being able to completely share the details, but I do have actually an exciting one for tomorrow that I'll be releasing at my talk at Money 2020. Just generally is kind of a policy. We don't release a lot of that information early. We're sometimes under NDAs even with some of these other partners. So we do have to obviously respect their timelines as well. But all of that notwithstanding, I do have an exciting one that I'll be announcing at Money 2020 tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what time's the talk?
It is at the 12:15 local time, Singapore time, and which will be the 15th of March for those maybe watching at a little bit later date. But really exciting. I can't give you the detail, but what I will say is maybe as a teaser, it involves 190 countries, and it's a global payment provider.
Wow, that seems pretty big. I'm going to make a point of watching the talk and tweeting out to everybody what the details of this partnership are.
Excellent. Please do.
Right on. Well, it's been truly a pleasure chatting with you guys. Thank you so much for making the time.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to mention to the viewers?
No, I mean, I think it's just, again, a big thank you to the community. I think, again, the grassroots support that we get on the ground is huge. It's instrumental, and we've heard from partners here today that have said that has made an impact. So, again, big thank you to the community for that.
I'd say keep the questions coming and always hold us accountable.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm just pleasantly surprised with your responses. And very community-oriented. So the organization has surely hired the right folks to represent.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, mate.
No worries.
Thank you.
Hey, cheers.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and follow Decentro on Steemit and Twitter.